The following program is being presented to you by a community producer. The statements, views, and opinions expressed are not necessarily those of ALC TV or the City of Avon Lake.
Hi, I'm Suzie Dills. Welcome to Starry Trails Adventure Through the Stars. Every month we'll talk about cosmic highlights and take an adventure through the night sky. So be sure to visit starrytrails.com for illustrations, maps. I do a narrative, and also it's great to pull up my audio on your smartphone, head outside in your backyard. Great way to navigate the night sky. Well, let's take a look at what our great highlights are for the month of May. No matter if you are a night owl or early bird, if you step outside and you look up, you are without a doubt going to see at least one or two planets. And over the next 4 months, our brightest planets are going to be at their very best. So for the month of May, the king of the planets, Jupiter, will be our highlight. And Jupiter, we know, is our largest planet in the solar system, and it's the second brightest planet that we see in the evening or morning sky. And on May 8th, Jupiter is going to be at opposition. So what does opposition mean? Well, that's when the planets are opposite the sun in the sky. So what will happen is when the sun is going down, when it's setting, Jupiter will be rising. So it's going to rule our night sky from dusk to dawn. What a great sight that'll be. And if you're out half an hour after sundown, if you're looking towards the east, remember that would be opposite from where the sun set, and you look very low towards the horizon, you will see a brilliant object. That would be Jupiter. And once again, it'll be with us the entire night. And there's 3 other bright stars in the eastern sky also right now. We have Vega, we have Arcturus, we have Spica. We'll check those out on our hike, but Jupiter will definitely outshine those 3 bright stars. So you'll know which one would be Jupiter. So what a great month this will be for the king of our planets. And then what's really cool is, what I like to do is I like to grab my binoculars, I like to get nice and steady and focus in on Jupiter. Because even with a pair of binoculars, you can see maybe 1 to 4 of the largest moons of Jupiter, and we call those the Galilean moons. So get steady, maybe rest your elbows on the hood of a car, a table, some sturdy surface so you can get nice and steady. And focus in on Jupiter. You'll see a couple pinpoints of light right around the planet, and those would be the Galilean moons. And I'll tell you, it's a sight to see in a telescope, and from time to time, I even get out my bird spotting scope and check out Jupiter and the Galilean moons. By the way, that famous astronomer Galileo, he discovered those large moons of Jupiter in 1610. And he used to chart the position each night of those moons. So it's kind of cool to go out. Like I said, if you have a spotting scope or telescope, it's a great object to get in a backyard telescope, a beginner scope. And each night, take a look at the different position of those moons. And you'll see how they'll change from night to night. So pretty cool viewing. And then, of course, on the opposite part of the sky, in the western sky, blazing bright, dazzling gem is the planet Venus. And we've been talking about Venus now for over a month. And if you step out, once again, a half an hour after sundown, you look towards the western sky, and there's that beautiful gem. And on the night of the 17th and 18th of May, that's when you really want to get out there if it's a clear night, because the crescent moon and Venus will be putting on a show once again on the 17th and 18th of May. It was really, really quite beautiful in April to see the pairing in the western sky after sundown. And then in our morning sky, we still have Saturn and Mars, and they're coming up a little bit after midnight now. So we'll be able to see them in the early morning sky for quite a bit of time. And Mars continues to brighten. So you'll notice that red-orange object in the south, pretty bright now, and Saturn's more of a golden color. Notice the position in that southern sky after midnight, and of course in those early pre-dawn hours. And they're going to be coming along here, and we're going to start to see them in our evening sky coming up summertime. So it's going to be a great planet show when we get into July and August. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to get ready for our hike. Of course, at this time of year, you probably just need a light jacket now. I'm so glad to see those chilly, cold nights of winter departing. We had quite a cloudy winter this year, so it's going to be great to get out all summer long. Of course, you have to take out your pair of binoculars, and don't forget your Starry Trail Map. And then, of course, if you want to pull up my audio, that's a great way to navigate through the sky. So once again, of course, you're going to orientate your directions. Sun sets in the western sky. And of course, if you're close by Lake Erie, you know that's direction north. So once you orientate, head on out in your backyard. Don't forget, we still might be hearing those the sounds of the spring peepers. It's been a great sound, those warmer nights in April. Something just great to hear again as we head into springtime. So our first stop on our hike is going to be the western sky. Of course, Venus will catch our eye, the brilliant object. And then if you look right above Venus, the two stars that look almost identical are Gemini, the twins. And we call those Castor and Pollux. And then you'll notice a bright star to the right of the twins, that's Capella. And then to the left of the twins, the bright star is Procyon. So we're still seeing some pretty bright stars hanging out there in the western sky. And you may just still see a little bit of Orion left behind. So you might still get a couple glimpses of his stars setting earlier each night. And then we're going to turn to the right or direction north and look high overhead. And there you will find the Big Dipper pouring the water out like the spring rains. And notice the position. It's high, very, very high in the springtime. So what a great indicator for people long ago that this was the rainy season, time to plant. So it was pouring all the water out like the spring rains. And then we take our two pointer stars at the end of the cup, and we just draw on our imaginary line down, and we're going to find Polaris or the North Star. So that's our direction star. It's the only star that remains fixed in our night sky as the Earth rotates. So it was great for navigation, and it is still used today. And then continuing to look high overhead at the Big Dipper, if you take the flat part of the cup and we're going to draw a line over, you're going to see the backwards question mark or the hook shape. That's Leo the lion, the head of the mighty lion. We've been looking at Leo for the last couple months. So I always go back to that familiar Big Dipper pattern because it's easy to find in order to star hop and go to other harder constellations or harder stars to find. So if you go back to the Big Dipper, take that flat part, draw the line over to the hook shape. We're going to return to the Big Dipper again. We're going to use that as our guide. We're going to turn right to the eastern sky. And of course, we talked about the position of Jupiter already, very low in the southeast. And we're going to look up in the eastern sky. We're going to see that bright orange yellow star. It's called Arcturus. And a lot of times I'll tell folks if you just take the handle of the Big Dipper, arc off the handle to Arcturus. And then you're going to speed over to a star called Spica, which is a blue-white star down and to the right of Arcturus. So arc to Arcturus, speed to Spica. And heading back to Arcturus, we're going to go down and to the left slightly. We're going to look for a semicircle in the stars. Looks like a necklace, but they call it the Northern Crown or Corona Borealis. Sometimes when I look at it, I also see a smiley face. So try to find that one. A little bit harder though if you're in a light polluted backyard. Sometimes if you can shield yourself from bright lights in your neighborhood, you'll be able to catch these constellations that are a little bit fainter in our springtime sky. I'm going to just go down into the left of Arcturus, that bright yellow-orange star, to the Northern Crown or Corona Borealis. And then slightly down to the left, you're going to notice what we call is a keystone shape in the stars. And that's the body of our greatest and strongest hero of all, Hercules. So take Corona Borealis, take that little trek down to the left, look for the keystone shape, and that's where you'll find mighty Hercules. Lots going on in our eastern sky as far as our spring constellations. Now, let's talk about those binocular highlights. We mentioned earlier about Jupiter, the Galilean moons. Always great to try that out. But we also have the Beehive star cluster. So we'll find that in between the constellation Leo and Gemini. So we talked earlier about how to find Leo by just hopping off the flat part of the Big Dipper. And then we remember where Gemini, the twins, are in the west. And then we're going to head to the opposite part of the sky. We're going to look back in the eastern sky. We talked about how to find Hercules, and this is really a challenge. You're going to want to try to find the greatest globular star cluster in our northern hemisphere skies. It's called the Hercules Globular Cluster, and it's made up of about 300,000 stars. So you have to get very, very steady, navigate to Hercules, the part of Hercules that faces Corona Borealis. You're going to scan around with your binoculars. You're going to look for a little fuzzy area, and that is that globular cluster. And if you have a backyard telescope, spotting scope, it's another one of those objects to practice on. But try to get it with your binoculars too, because when you look at that, imagine that you're looking at a cluster of stars made up of 300,000 stars. So great binocular viewing, and of course, the moon is always great to look at too. Unfortunately, our star party scheduled for April 21st was canceled due to cloud cover, but we have another star party coming up on Friday, May 25th. So it'll be a great night to get out. It'll start at 9 o'clock. We'll go till about 10:30. Bring your light jacket, your binoculars, your star maps, and we're going to check out the first quarter moon. We're going to check out Jupiter and Venus. So it'll be quite a great night, and we are going to also navigate around learning our spring constellations, and we'll also do a preview of what's coming up in our summertime sky. Like I said, we're going to have a great planet lineup coming up in July and August. So thanks, folks, so much for coming out this month. Next month, our highlight will be the beautiful planet Saturn. So thank you so much.
The preceding program was presented to you by a community producer. The statements, views, and opinions expressed were not necessarily those of ALC TV or the City of Avon Lake.